My name is Blessed Sogah. You're watching UPfront on the Joy News channel, and tonight we're asking a very simple question. Why is the government of Ghana contemplating renaming the Kotoka International Airport?
Issues the Ministry of Transport, and for that matter, government, presented to Parliament our activities for this period of the recall. Parliament will be expected to pass a lot of bills, and as government agenda, we have a lot of bills from the Ministry of Transport, and one of them is the renaming of the Kotoka International Airport to its original name. We will remember that in the period of the Second World War, around 1946, the British Royal Air Force used that place as an Air Force base to carry people to war and other activities. After that period, somewhere in 1956, that facility was handed over to the civilian rule. That was the time Sergeant Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was at the helm of affairs. He retooled, he revamped, and redeveloped the Air Force base into a civilian passenger airport. And as at that time, the name was Accra International Airport. And that name is of significance to us. We all here have accepted that Accra is our capital city, marketed, rich culture, and also locational identity. That everybody in this world, especially in the West Africa sub-region, knows that where this struggle for independence had a lot to do from Accra. And so renaming the airport to Accra International Airport is of significant importance to the Ghanaian people, and for that matter, the African personality. Now, the situation is such that we are not doing this with any political thinking. We are doing this to come from a very neutral point of view, that Accra is our capital city. It is not anybody's name. If we want to name other monuments or any other national facilities to people, this is the time that we are looking at restructuring them. For the fact that we had a name and it was changed to honor somebody in his role in the 1966 coup, we feel that that history is not what the Ghanaian will want to hear. The fact that it had an original name, and that name was when the first president gave that name to the airport, we should do that, and Kwame Nkrumah himself in his grave will remember, even if the spirit is anywhere and it is coming home, it will get to his original Accra International Airport, no any other name.
That all these years we've had this Kotoka, General Kotoka's name on the airport, and suddenly it is being changed. What is it? After it's Kotoka International Airport, Accra. So Accra is still there. So if you come to Accra, or even in the country, how many prominent Voltarians have their names on national assets or national monuments? This is the only thing the people of Volta region can also at least see as something that recognizes heroism from the Volta region. And that one too, they are being denied.
The leadership of Parliament in this maiden press engagement ahead of the second session of Parliament gave an update on the job that has been done, as well as the backlog from 2025. But most especially the preparation of the House ahead of the President John Dramani Mahame's delivery of the State of the Nation's address for 2026.
Expect in this meeting to take the President's report on the state of the nation. That's a major item of this meeting. That's a major item of this meeting. Just like last meeting of last session, the major item was the budget, if you recall. So usually in each meeting, there's something major that occurs during that meeting. So I would say that the major highlight of this meeting will be the President's presentation of the State of the Nation report to Parliament, pursuant to the constitutional obligation that he has. And so you should be preparing towards that.
The Majority Leader, Mahama Yariga, also gave a forecast of what to expect from the various ministries, departments, and agencies in terms of bills coming to the House, especially some number of bills, an amendment from the Energy Minister to effect some changes in the energy sector, as well as a bill to change the name of the Kotoka International Airport to Accra International Airport.
But the Minister for Energy plans to bring a bill to enact a new National Petroleum Authority Act. They also want to bring a bill to establish a Ghana Bunkering Services Agency. And then also, as you would recall, there is a program to involve the private sector in electricity distribution. And these are things that will have to come to Parliament for approval. There's been a lot of renegotiation of the various power purchase agreements with independent power producers. These are matters that have to come to Parliament. The Nuclear Power Corporation bill will also come. There's a proposal to establish a Renewable Energy Authority. So the bill to establish that will also be here. And then there's a new proposal to merge PURC and EC to establish the Ghana Energy Regulatory Commission. So a bill to that effect will come. And then some regulations relating to the West Africa gas pipeline will also come from the Ministry of Energy. And we are changing the name of our airport from Kotoka International Airport to Accra International Airport. So a bill will be brought by the Minister for Transport for the name of the airport to be changed from Kotoka International Airport to Accra International Airport. So the Accra International Airport bill will also come.
Alexander Penyo-Markin indicated that they will collaborate with the majority, but the majority, as well as the Speaker, must be more accommodating this year.
Oh, it's very necessary. They should change it. They should change it to either Ghana International Airport or Accra International Airport. Because, Kotoka, he just overthrown Kwame Nkrumah, or he overthrew Kwame Nkrumah, right? So it's better. It's either Kwame Nkrumah International Airport is better. Kotoka, the plan B.
What is the history behind Kotoka? The airport being named after Kotoka? I hear he was killed there. That's the story. People want to bring political issues about it and tribal issues. So maybe Accra is in Accra. So they just name it Accra International Airport and then we'll all be free.
Since Accra is the capital city of Ghana, I think the name should be Accra, not Kotoka.
Everybody knows it's Kotoka International Airport. So I don't think if they change it, that will be possible.
If they name it Kwame Nkrumah International Airport, that is good because he was the first president in Ghana. And he was the one who built the airport, not Kotoka. Because they killed him there, that is why they named him Kotoka Airport. So to me, I prefer Kwame Nkrumah Airport.
Okay, so you had some views on the streets of Accra telling you what they equally think about government's decision to rename the Kotoka International Airport. And wrapping off that vox was an obvious inclusion of a historical appreciation to why the name perhaps might have changed. Is that accurate? Just as we've heard from that individual on the streets of Accra saying that, well, the place was initially Accra International Airport and was renamed after Kotoka because he was killed there. That's why tonight we're having, a historical perspective and analysis on this whole claim about renaming the Kotoka International Airport and what it means to the nation. Lawyer Yao Anoche Frimpong is a historian. He's also a private legal practitioner. My guest for tonight here on UPfront. Good evening to you, sir, and thank you so much for spending some time with us here on Joy News.
Good evening, and then thank you for having me.
You know a lot more about the history of this airport, so let's clear the mysteries, the conjecture, and the whole story around it. I've read personally that at some point this used to be a colonial facility belonging to the British colony. How did we come about this airport in the first place, which is now being named Accra International Airport or the Kotoka International Airport?
Okay, to start with, during the Second World War, the British decided to have an Air Force base in Accra because after recruiting soldiers from the West African territory, which was their colony, they needed to fly them to the war zone in Western Europe, particularly in Germany. So the Royal Air Force of Britain built that part, not even as an airstrip, just as a base for helicopters to be able to take off and then land. In addition to that, they also built the military hospital in order to be able to carry wounded soldiers home for treatment.
Oh, that's why we have the 37
And it was the 37th hospital built by the British Army during the wartime. And that's why
we got the name.
Yes, monumentally, we call it 37 Military Hospital. And that's why I don't like the change of the name Flagstaff House to Jubilee House, because the two were related. Where they did their march past, where they kept arms and then the officers were kept, was the Flagstaff House. Very historic name. And even Kwame Nkrumah did not change it. So I'm surprised today we call it Jubilee House. But let's forget about that.
I wouldn't even doubt you on that, because if you look at the geographical map of these facilities you're talking about, you move from Flagstaff House or the Jubilee House, which you usually, you wouldn't like, then you move next to
37 military. Then just immediately across the road is the military base.
Yeah.
So that's the way it was. And then a little beyond the military base, you see the airport.
Yeah. And the Armed Forces headquarters.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that was what it was. And let us also know or learn that until we had independence, we didn't have a Gold Coast Air Force or Ghana Air Force. That was developed after 1960, the Air Force. Yeah, it was Nkrumah that gave us the Ghana Navy and then the Ghana Air Force. He came to meet the Ghana Army or the Gold Coast Army. That was him. Then Nkrumah, after getting the internal self-government, 1951, leader of government business, then 52, he was the prime minister. And look at his idea of having a united Africa, helping every African country to get independence, using Ghana as a base to spread the freedom fighting. He needed an international airport. So immediately he set about to build that airport, not for local use, but for international consumption. By 1957, he had completed it already. And then thousands of people would come here. And he had also built Ambassador Hotel to host all the international guests, because we really didn't have hotels of world-class standard here. So he had to build the Ambassador Hotel to receive the diplomats. There is one thing many people do not know.
Right.
When Nkrumah built the airport, he needed to name it. You understand?
Yeah.
So he recollected the idea of giving a woman's name to it. Don't forget.
Really, a woman?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Kwame Nkrumah's teacher was Agri at Achimota School.
Right.
And it was Agri who used to tell his students that if you educate a man, you educate an individual. If you educate a woman, you educate a whole nation. That was what Aggrey was saying. And Kwame Nkrumah, when he was a student at Achimota, anytime Aggrey left the class, he would be imitating his voice. He would stand on the table and say that just as they call Aggrey of Africa, one day they will call me to Kwame Nkrumah of Africa. So everything Aggrey was Nkrumah, he started speaking like the way Aggrey spoke. Now he met Otumfuo Agyemang Prempeh II, that if this airport should be great, it should be named after a great Ghanaian. And Nkrumah, putting his pen down to paper, discovered that it was one famous Ghanaian he could immediately remember, who incidentally and luckily for him was a woman. That woman who in 1900 led the Ashanti people to fight the Battle of the Golden Stool, or the War of the Golden Stool, in order to protect that Golden Stool. Mind you, the British, let's say the English,
yes,
were those who took away the Stone of Scotland. And to date, the Scottish are not happy about that. It was the British who took away the Star of India, about the biggest diamond cut ever discovered. They took it away. Then don't forget that in Nigeria, Benin Empire, they took the Benin bronze. And then Italians also took away the obelisks from Ethiopia. In almost every country you could imagine, these Westerners had pilfered something of value, a great heritage, irreplaceable value, taken away from the people. But in the case of Ashanti, when the men so cowardly wanted to give up the stool, because at the end of it all, the one who had the stool, who possessed the stool, had been taken away to Seychelles. So if they come again wanting to fight us and the stool is not for, why don't you go and give them? It was Yaa Asantewaa who was able to mobilize them, motivate them to fight to the last blood in order to protect it. And I should add that at that time, Ashanti had been divided into three. The Bekwai people, and when you cross the Pra, you know, before you reach Kumasi, you pass through Amansia, the Bekwai territory. They aided the white people. All the Bekwai area, the Amansia people aided the British soldiers. And then the Mampong people decided to stay away completely. And then it was left with Kumasi, Ejeso, and then Ofenso that formed one army to protect the stool by putting up a fight. And when you read history, it tells you that the Ashantis fought like wounded lions. They put everything into it. And at the end of it all, they lost 2,000 men. They were defeated, utterly defeated. But their pride was kept, completely kept, protected.
And that's all because of the contribution of this woman.
Their pride was kept above everything, because the essence of the war was not to defeat Ashanti, but to take the Golden Stool. Once they were not able to take the Golden Stool, irrespective of the fact that Ashanti was technically defeated, the same technicality says that they won the war because the British could not achieve their aim. And Nkrumah, don't forget, was a professor of black history in Lincoln University. So he knew all this. So he told the chief that I have to make the whole world respect Ghana. And then because of female empowerment that he had learned from his master, Aggrey, it will be Yaa Asantewaa and nobody else.
So if I'm right, what we are seeing now, just in the background, Kotoka International Airport would have read Yaa Asantewaa International Airport.
I'm coming there. I'll get there. So when he told Nana, Nana was so excited. Then he called the meeting of the Ashanti chiefs, broke the news to them. And just as the Ghana chiefs rejected the idea of Ohene
Stadium
having his name on the Accra Sports Stadium, they also said, oh, I didn't want to talk. Mateme ho for Kwame Nkrumah CPP. This when ya baby or person didn't need to airport, so uncle CPP ni ba non fan to so. Nya nana ye this year Yaa Asantewaa. That's it. He pleaded with them, they refused. So what would Nkrumah do? He named it Accra International Airport. He could have named it Kwame Nkrumah International Airport. Yeah. After all, in Ivory Coast, we have Hofo-Boigny International Airport, and then Kenyatta Conference Center, Kenyatta Airport. He could have named it after himself, but he made it Accra International Airport, symbolically, to let you know that he never aimed at putting his name on it, but something else. And those people who had the offer rejected it completely. They didn't accept it.
Do we know the backstory of why perhaps these indigents were not happy that Nkrumah was going to...
That was what I said in Chi, so it's good that you have repeated it. Right. That was what I said in Chi. At that time, you know, in the 50s, there were serious hostilities between the CPP as a party and then United Party, you know, which... yes, which had its base in Ashanti. So just because of this, you know, sometimes anger can lead you to do so many things that will make you regret irretrievably. You remember last week, a policewoman who had sat in somebody's taxi cab argued with the taxi driver over a very small sum of money and shot him. I believe that wherever she finds herself now, she has regretted big time. But you can't bring back somebody's relative. At the same time, you too, you will never come back to live with us. And that is anger. The Ashanti chiefs were angry. The chief, the Nana Otumfuo pleaded with them, they disagreed. So it became Accra International Airport. Then come 1966, 24 February, Nkrumah was overthrown. The following year, there was a push, an abortive coup, led by SB Atta, and then Lieutenant, Moses Yabua. There was another one called Osei Poku, Second Lieutenant Osei Poku, attempting to overthrow the military regime that overthrew Nkrumah's government earlier in 1966. And it failed. That was April 1967. They called them the Operation Guitar Boys. Because when Atta slot in the labor, it was Guitar Boys. You're going to see Mami Watau, never, never run away. And it kept
before
playing.
The coup, yeah.
During the coup, when they captured what do you call it, Ghana Broadcasting, that was the song.
The song playing.
Yeah, so they called them the Guitar Boys. Eventually, the coup failed. But we all know that Osei Poku, who was sent to capture or kill Ankara at the castle, failed to do so. He said he had never shed blood before. So when he met him face to face, he didn't do it. And then as for Atta, he did his work where he captured Broadcasting House, made his announcement, all right. He was the leader. And then Yabua was also able to capture Kotoka. And then he and his group drove him to a secure broadcasting, the Accra International Airport.
Okay, where we have the airport now.
Yes, that's where they killed him. And the very spot where the police later found the body was where the statue is standing, that very spot. Then, after everything, 2 years later, 1969, just before the NLC could hand over to the Progress Party government led by Dr. K.A. Buzia, the leadership of the NLC, National Liberation Council, decided to set up a trust fund in honor of General Kotoka, who was the Chief of Defense Staff and the architect of the coup. And I should tell you that Nkrumah was living at Flaster House. After the coup, Kotoka came to reside at Flaster House. Yes, yes, that was his official residence.
He was hungry for power, maybe?
All of them, yeah. And CIA has admitted that they bribed them to overthrow their own government. This one is no secret again. The American CIA was not comfortable with Nkrumah, and then they were able to get these people to get Nkrumah off. Then the Kotoka Trust Fund, listen to this part. Yeah. Kotoka Trust Fund that was set up. General Ankara, head of state chairman. Then the vice chairman was incidentally the Asantehene Otumfuo Ajiman Prempeh II. And the man wasn't happy at all when the government told him that the trust fund has been set up, one, to set up a fund with a bank account that anybody or company that will want to drop in some money for the upkeep of Kotoka's family. That was number one. Then number two, Nyaniba Estate, which Nkrumah had built. And he himself never had one free. He bought one for his mother from his monthly salaries. He bought one for his mother. Now the state gave one free to Kotoka's wife and children. Then the airport that he had built, the government told the trust fund that they should name it after Kotoka so that his name will be indelible, will live with us
so
forever.
So this was a compensation?
For Kotoka, because he had been able to overthrow their enemy and he had created a space for them. Having overthrown Kotoka, it helped Ankara to become the first military head of state of Ghana. It helped Kotoka to be a chief of defense staff. It helped Afrifa to be a commissioner for finance. Incidentally, do you know that during the coup, when all the officers were in Ghana, he was in Tamale. He was in Tamale. That was why the Ewe soldiers suspected that he and Ashanti man had deliberately organized Atta and Yabua to kill their man. But we don't have to go there. It will be another time we talk about that one. So, Nana had to sign. You understand? He will never be happy. You think between Kotoka and Yasantua, Osayajima Prepe would be happy signing, putting his signature. Oh, Jesus Christ. He would have, but his people let him down. But the history is that after that, I mean, when they endorsed everything, the government passed the National Liberation Council Decree 339, you know, renaming the airport after Kotoka. You know, so subsequently, many pro-CPP lawyers had attempted to have cases in court to reverse. And then I was saying that you will fail because the decree was just operated as an act of parliament until this government came deciding that the name had to be changed to. Okay, so that's the...
I'm interested in knowing a bit more about this individual, Kotoka himself. His background, who was he really?
Kotoka?
Yes.
At the time of the coup, he was a colonel. And then he was in charge of the Kumasi barracks. And his junior, like a subordinate, was Afrifa. And Afrifa's wife, Obaya, was an Ewe woman. So when the CIA wanted to get Nkrumah overthrown, Nkrumah reported so much confidence in the Ewe people to the extent that his aide-de-camp was General Michel. And my father was a soldier. He told me that the circumstances in which he died in a plane crash was very something. Ghanaians were questionable, dubious, because he was so close to Nkrumah, and people felt like eliminating him so that eventually they will also get Nkrumah. He was an Ewe man, very loyal to Nkrumah. And then also there was Hali, Mr. Hali, the IGP. He was also an Ewe man. And then Deku, the CID commander, was also an Ewe man. So when the CIA wanted to get him, you needed, you know, the way Africans behave.
Identical.
One very good ethnic group. And then they landed on Hali, and then Hali recruited the CID commander. And then the CID, so police cannot overthrow a government, so they needed the soldiers. So they looked for this colonel, who was an Ewe man, identified with them. And then they went to his wife, Afrifa's wife, because you needed to give it a tribal balance. Otherwise, you know, the Ewes are of minority in Ghana. Everybody knows that. And if the Akans resisted it, there would be a failure. So you needed the full support of the Akans. If you need the support of the Akans, you needed the support of the Ashanti people because they had the biggest opposition against Kwame Nkrumah. And that was how it worked. You know, and so they started also recruiting some of Nkrumah's own ministers, including people from his own area. We don't have to blame the West alone. His minister for foreign affairs, Dr. Alex Kwesinsaki. His mother was from Nkrumah's area, Western region, and then the father from Winneba. So it was not only the West, almost everybody, even after the coup had been successful. When they went to Nkrumah's most trusted minister's house, Krobodise, they found him pouring libation. Immediately upon hearing the news of Nkrumah's overthrow, he was pouring libation, thanking the ancestors for the overthrow of Nkrumah. So almost everybody betrayed Kwame Nkrumah. Almost everybody.
So if there's a reason why those who are really against the idea of the Kotoka International Airport would still go ahead and canvass for a change in name, it will simply be because of the individual who's been named after an airport built through the efforts of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Is that the scenario that's playing out?
Yes, the reason why all this is playing out is that...
It's because it's Kotoka and no one else.
Oh, yeah, it is Kotoka, and people will support that the name should remain.
Yeah.
Because, you see, after Nkrumah, still came another group, the National Alliance of Liberals, led by K.A. Gbedema, one-time Nkrumah's minister, against Progress Party, mainly Ashanti-based. And then after them came People's National Party, pro-Nkrumah, Popular Front Party, pro the UP, and then today NDC, MPP. So all those who favor NPP think that it was because Kotoka staged the coup. That was why their tradition was able to come to power. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come to power. And then the NDC people also believe that. Now, if you have observed, Atta Mills was not mentioning Rawlings much. He never saw Rawlings as his mentor, even though it was Rawlings who handpicked him. And then we all see that Mahama also doesn't see anything in Rawlings. And that is a fact. He sees Nkrumah rather as a mentor. His father was an Nkrumah minister. And he respects Nkrumah more than Rawlings. It's a fact. He can't tell me what I'm saying is false. Everybody knows it. So he feels that there is an unfinished business. One is sentimental. You see, when Buzia came to power, Nkrumah is overthrew Buzia's government in no time, led by General Champon. Then Nkrumah had been buried in Conakry, Guinea, and the Champon went for the mortal remains. You understand? Then when Rawlings also came, he went for the mortal remains from the village in Crawford because international tourists wanted to have a look at Nkrumah, and he built this for him. And then this man came, Kufuor, came to power. He liked Nkrumah, all right. He never hides that. Ghana at 50. I'm sure you were old enough. You saw that everything was done by Kufuor to praise Kwame Nkrumah. But because he belonged to the other side, he couldn't do such a thing. And Rawlings too could have done it. But because he was aware, he was afraid that his people would be against him and he would also lose votes. So he stayed away from it. Mills vowed to do it. When you talk to people very close to him, he vowed, but he died somewhere along the line. And then Mahama has come to continue with the process that happened. Yes. You know.
Let me ask you, would it be the first time that we're seeing any monument being named after a co-leader in this country? Because that's part of the arguments that we've heard all throughout the period.
It's not the first time. When you go to Bama camp, we have Kotoka Primary. And then this man, there is there's a barracks named after one of the soldiers who was killed, in Bama camp. But he was not a coup maker. Right. He was then the chief of defense staff and to General Ekufu. He wanted to avoid Odate Wellington, but he was not a coup maker. In actual fact, I believe the only coup maker in Ghana who has had the honor of having a monument such as this named after him was Kotoka. Yeah, but legal, if you are to go to the legal angle and then historically, take away the sentiments of Mahama and my own sentiments, because I'm also an Nkrumahist. Now let's go to law and history, which are far bigger than sentiments. Like those who prophesy that Kennedy Japan will win, as against mathematics, arithmetic, science, done by Musa Dankwa. So let's go to the real mathematics. Russia, after the fall of the Soviet Union, the Russian parliament met and decided that when you talk about revolution or coup d'etat, it reminds people of bloodshed, division, and a break in constitutional development. As a result, anything that had been named after the revolution in any manner, directly or indirectly, should be renamed. And one of them was the city Leningrad, named after the 1917 revolutionary leader, Lenin. And it became St. Petersburg, the original name. And then his body remains, which was like a monument for everybody to see. They immediately buried it. So historically, that's the way it is. And then apartheid. After the fall of apartheid, you go to South Africa, They did so many.
So it's a dark past, you say.
Dark past.
Yeah, that many would not want to, even
want to remember.
Yes, but as a historian, if you even type the name, now we're in that digital age, Kotoka, of course, the airport will come up. And then we get to learn a bit more of history about his contribution, his role, and what kind of a person he was. Don't you feel that?
I don't see any contribution or role, please. I don't see.
But historically, I mean, as a historian, you'd want us to learn more about the history of this country. Would you not say that removing his name is, to a certain extent, eliminating a portion of our history?
It does not. It is rather like breaking a piece from cake or bread and then eventually trying to fix it back. You are only remedying a wrong. There's nothing wrong about that. And this is not the first time Ghana is doing something like this. It's not the first time. Okay. You see, the moment we started the promulgation of the 1992 Constitution,
yes,
you know that, well, let me say, before then, there was the 31st December holiday because of the 31st December 1981 coup.
Yeah.
And the NDC wanted to transit this holiday from revolution time to democracy time.
Right.
And this same NPP went to the Supreme Court to challenge it, saying it was unconstitutional. And the
Supreme was reminding people of a
yes, and the Supreme Court, that is the apex court of the land, said it was completely unconstitutional. And the NDC, and I mean the government of the day, lost. In much the same way, the Kotoka man overthrew a constitutionally elected government. You understand?
Yeah.
Before the 1966 coup, there was a government made up of parliament, legislature, executive, and then judiciary. And these people came to overthrow the government and the legislature. So what Kotoka did was not different from what Rawlings did.
Okay.
And what Mahama is doing is not different from what the Supreme Court
I'm looking at alternatives now. Camps have emerged. There are those who say, well, if it was built during the period of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, why not name it after him? There are those who say, well, Accra represents the entirety of the nation, so let's go with Accra International Airport. There are those who even say, and I've seen that on social media, just name it Ghana International Airport, and we're good to go. Which one works for you?
The country is Ghana, so why Ghana International?
As an Nkrumah, would you side with the Nkrumah International Airport or the Accra International?
The moment I say that, because I'm an Nkrumah issue, then it means I'm just being sentimental and political.
But it's fine if you're sentimental.
But the truth is that the man who built the airport suggested the name Ya Asantewaa. Then when it was refused, he made it officially. Because the name Ya Asantewaa is unofficial. 99.999% of the people did not know what I just said.
In fact, I'm getting to learn this for the very first time.
So the official one we knew, or we know, is the Accra International Airport, named by Kwame Nkrumah, before it became Kotoka International Airport.
Right.
So if Kotoka is going away, I believe that Parliament must decide on two names. The one that the architect had in mind, and then the one that can be given to the architect himself because of the fact that historically, almost every airport in the world is named after a national icon. That's why it was ironic for Kotoka's name to be there. Because, you see, the day this man, Atta Mills, took Kwame Nkrumah's statue to the AU headquarters, and spoke to his colleagues that the man who brought the whole idea of African unity was my first president. But I'm not talking as the fact that he came from my country, but look at the fact that he wanted to do something for Africa. So if you would accept, I move that they should place his statue here. And anybody like him, his Selassie and others, could also join. And then immediately everybody stood up and gave him a standing ovation. So if AU could recognize Nkrumah and put his statue in front of the AU headquarters in Addis Ababa, then ironically, the same AU, if they say they had a conference, and they had several conferences in Accra, and then they arrive at the international airport, and then they ask the name Kotoka. And also, that's the man who overthrew Nkrumah's government. Then it's like we are insulting AU. Then don't forget that Nkrumah died in 1972. 1999 2000, the BBC, did the poll. Did the poll through, not just named him, it was a poll organized by BBC throughout the world. And Nkrumah overwhelmingly won. It was not a Ghana poll, it was a universal poll. So that was the second thing. Africa had done one, the world had done, the youth of the world did the second. And now United Nations, if you didn't know, United Nations last year accepted Kwame Nkrumah as the father of African unity. And this year, before the end of the year, Mahama will go and address the General Assembly, and officially UNESCO would accept it so that Nkrumah's name will enter the universal syllabus as the father of African emancipation. So this is what the world has done for Nkrumah. So how do you retain this name when Mahama knows what has happened, that AU has recognized him, the youth of the world, and the UN, even including US that overthrew his government, recognizing Nkrumah as Africa's first world leader. As Africa, the first black world leader.
Yeah, in fact, President John Mahama himself is a student of history, so I'm sure that he appreciates that. But now to the point about ideological differences. If we were to, for instance, name this facility after Kwame Nkrumah, you know what is likely to happen. It's a multi-party democracy now. You may have elements of the UP win political power again. If we put the name up there as Kwame Nkrumah International Airport, and I'm just assuming now, don't you feel that there'll be a future government who will then also change it, and then we go into that downward spiral of what's happening to the Jubilee House? Flagstaff House, Jubilee House, Kotoka International Airport, Kwame Nkrumah International Airport. Are we not likely to just go down that path of partisanship again?
What you are saying is one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is to ensure that the name of the airport could enter into the new constitution. Because this is a very cherished national monument. And they say that if anybody, to enshrine it, to make it such that it will not be easy for anybody to change it. It will be as difficult as amending the constitution itself. But what is more important is that if anybody attempts, let's say if it is named after Nkrumah, and anybody attempts to change it, the next time it will be rechanged. So you don't need to alter it. And again, those who want it to be changed to some other name apart from Nkrumah, just as Kotoka and his NLC stayed in power for 3 years. They never built any estate, but they took one of Nkrumah's estate houses for Kotoka. They never built any airport. They renamed the airport after Kotoka. Those who are against it, let them stay in power for 1,000 years. They cannot build an airport. It's as simple as that. They cannot. Daniel Akufo-Addo came. A whole nation's university named 2 of them after one, Tedam.
CK Tedam.
CK Tedam.
Yes.
And then Dombo. Can you imagine? An university is always named after an icon. You understand? And then the next time, Mahama comes to say that, look, I'm also from the north. And the 2 names are northern names, but I believe that's far below the belt. So he has changed it. If you come and reach it, everybody will know that you are not just being reasonable. And then coming to MPP or Matemeho, that's UP tradition and CPP tradition, they have had more monuments named after them than the CPP people. Dankwa Circle.
Yes.
Dankwa Circle. Then Obechebi Lamte Circle. And then Eduardo Akufo-Addo Circle. So in the case of the CPP, apart from Kwame Nkrumah, nobody has been given anything. Look at K. Bedema. But for him, the dam would not have been built. But for him, Nkrumah would not have come out of prison. And we don't have anything named after Bedema. And CPP people have not questioned anybody. In reality, what did this man, Obechebi Lamte, do for Ghana? And then Akufo-Addo's father, what did he do for Ghana? And I'm speaking in relative terms, because on normal lines, you say he was a president, ceremonial, but relatively, what did he do for Ghana? You're talking about people who did things like General Champo. Look around, you see a dam he built, sports stadium, you see this Kaneshi market, various estates, factories, you understand, schools, but nothing is named after him because he was a coup maker. Kotoka too was a coup maker. They should quickly take off the name. And if it is Kwame Nkrumah, we can justify it because almost everywhere in the world, there is an airport after the founder of the nation.
Which is another hot.
And then another person will say it will cost us money.
Yeah.
It won't cost
I was
anything.
just going to the cash bit, because some elements, even within government, are now writing to the president to consider whether or not this should even be a national priority in the first place. Because the change in name will come, obviously, with associated costs.
So it will cost money.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Should that be our priority now?
But if, let's say, the former finance minister,
yes,
we are calling him to come and answer for about $38 million that then he put up there. We call it National Cathedral or something.
Yes,
he and Akufo-Addo did that, which didn't benefit anybody. We spent a lot of money on that, didn't benefit anybody. And then you are renaming something after Nkrumah to take off embarrassment from our necks. Because if you are somebody who travels a lot, you will know that anytime you are sitting with a foreigner, by you, and then say, fasten your seatbelt, we are just arriving at Kotoka, then he asks you, who is this Kotoka? And then you find a way of answering. You cannot, because that man already knows Kwame Nkrumah. And your answer should be that he was the one who overthrew Nkrumah's government. And then you would think that the whole nation is just silly. And the accounts will say, your greatest politician, the one who overthrew him, you name your airport after him.
The minority leader has waded into this. He is saying, and of course it comes from the political lens, that if you look at the composition of the NDC now, they're enjoying such a huge support from the Volta region. This is one individual that, whether for good or for bad, resonates with these people in the Volta region. The Volta region continues to endorse the NDC. Will there not be a political cost to this if President John Mahama goes ahead?
So if it is going to be a political cost, then Mahama, and for that matter, the NDC as a party that sat down to take that decision, was ready to take a big risk. They are ready to be sacrificed, all because of the interests of the country. And as a result, we must stand up for them. Yes, because Rawlings could not do it. Nobody would do it for fear of losing votes. And this man and his party say, let us grab the bull by the horn, because the whole international community is talking about it.
He has nothing to lose.
He has something to lose.
He's leaving office in just a space of 3 years.
When Akufo-Addo was leaving, he prayed that Bawumia would be the next president. Yes. When Kufuor was leaving, he prayed that Akufo-Addo will be the next president. Yeah. When Rawlings was leaving, he prayed that Mens will be the next president. So I don't think that it is within the imagination of Mahama that an MPP man or CPP man will be the next president after him. He is just doing something of national interest. It's as simple as that. And then Voltarians, just as other people, all other people of Ghana, are very reasonable people who think about the nation first and nothing more. When the nation decided to rename Kumasi Sports Stadium after Baba Yara and Nordina, the Ashantis didn't say anything because they saw him as a national hero, national icon, and they were interested in the nation and not Asante Man. When the Akwapim people had this Tetekwashe hospital named after a Gaman, they never said anything amiss. It's only the Ghana people, when it came to their turn that Ohinijani's name should be put on the sports stadium in Accra, when the stadium did not belong to them, they started saying something against the government. And I believe that when you are building a nation, you don't behave that way. Ewes know, Angolas know that we are building a nation. And there are more famous Ewes who deserve to be remembered, like the first African to have been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, 1947. Then the 48, 49 one, he came second. But for his skin, he would have won.
Oh, really?
Dr. Ernest Grail Ameto. The nation must remember him and do something for him. You understand? Not only he, this man, Ephraim Mamu, you understand? Yeah. And then Philip Beho, and many, many more that I cannot name here. Always have contributed so much towards the development of this country. And I don't think that when you rename Kotoka after Nkrumah or after Accra, it will hurt them in any manner, because they belong to the entity called Ghana and not themselves.
How come we don't know all of these things that you're telling us now?
Before I answer you, those who are saying that it will bring political division, blah, blah, blah. Have you gone to the Kwamu area and then the Krobo area to see the devastation and then the Kwau, the devastation that the construction of the Akosombo Dam caused to them? Have you imagined that? This is just a name, and it is only a few people who will talk, but these people lost all their lands for the sake of a dam for the nation. Have you gone to Western region to discover that it is their area that all the oil and gas are coming from, and they are not benefiting a peswa from it because it is for the nation and they don't need to talk. But if you are saying that everybody should try and protect that which belongs to it, then the next day there will be no Ghana. There will be no Ghana, yes. Wow. After all, Nkrumah, who wanted to name it Yasantua International Airport, was he an Ashanti man? He wasn't. He was an Nzema. But he was thinking about Ghana, Ghana, Ghana. And that should be the, you know, Muhammad says you want to reset Ghana. Yeah. That should be the agenda of every Ghanaian. So if you are thinking of your tribe first, then it means that you are a baby yet to grow.
If there's a lesson I'm learning tonight, it's Ghana first. That's all I'm learning from you. And also the fact that, you know, I just have to read a bit more about this history. Very fascinating history. I didn't know about the Yasantua part. Sure. And that's why I was asking you, how come the nation has, all this has been lost on us?
Because some of us learn, and because some people don't want us to learn between the two. You know, some people don't want us to learn, and some of us also learn. So it is good that we are there to tell the story. Today, like this, I was so happy when I had a call from a very important person in government. Yeah. And he told me, because I did a program on this renaming on Max TV. Yeah, right. He sent a message thanking me and telling me that, Anoche, do you know that what we are doing historically is because we listen to people like you. We listen to you passionately talk about the history of Ghana. I talk about Ashanti, I talk about Ewa, I talk about North, I talk about everybody with a view to bringing the whole nation together. It is because of some of these things that we have taken a risk to change the name, because sentimentally, you know, it is an abuse of language to say Nkrumah was the father of the nation and the whole world recognizes him, and then you rename an airport after the one who brought an end to the fight for African freedom and unity, the one who brought it to an end.
Yeah. I promise you we'll get Lawyer Noche for another session. It should be periodic now on our program, but grateful for spending some time with us here on the Joy News channel. And that's all we have for you here in this package of UpFront. I am Blessed Sogah. We'll see you again. Until then, log on to myjoyonline.com where you see lots and lots more of our conversation, plus other stories there. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.